Hello everyone, it's Tracy. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks very much for joining me. Today I'm doing the assembly tutorial for the 3-tier serving tray. This project has been designed by Nicole Silhouette here on YouTube, and I shall link her YouTube channel in the description box below. The 3-tier serving tray is available as a cutting die set from Andy's store, and it also is available as a digital cutting file in Nicole's Etsy store, and I shall link those in the description box below. For today's tutorial, I will be using the digital cut file. So we'll get started, and I have the pieces cut out here and I'll go through them with you. These pieces here on the left make up the top finial. These pieces in the middle are the 3 tiers, the top, middle and bottom layer, and these pieces here on the right make up the support towers in between the tiers. I do have the decorator layers here for each level. And these little ones here are also decorator panels. So I'll put those aside for later. So I'll just get myself organised here, and what we'll start to put together first will be the top finial piece, which is those pieces on the left. I'll just move everything else out of the way. And we'll get going on the top finial piece. So I'm just laying out here all the pieces that are needed for the finial. And we're going to start with that little pie piece down the bottom that looks like a pie with a piece taken out of it. I'm just going to remove the adhesive backings from the adhesive. I've gone ahead obviously and folded along all the score lines and put double-sided tape on all the glue tabs for all of the pieces of the 3-tier serving tray. I'm using a mixture today of double-sided tape and glue. The glue I'm using is art glitter glue. So we've got that top cone piece done, and it's now time to move on to the next piece here. Just going to remove the backings off the adhesive of this side tab and join the ends together like so. The wider tabs indicate the top and the narrower tabs indicate the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the backings off the adhesive for the tabs that are at the top. And then I'm going to take that cone piece and attach to one of the glue tabs to begin with to get an anchoring, as I'm showing here. And then I'm going to move the tabs inwards a little bit and close it up like so, making sure that the tabs line up with the bottom piece to the cone piece. And I do have a finger inside pressing against the tabs against each other, against my thumb, sorry, as you can see me doing there. I'm just checking to make sure everything's stuck from the inside and pressing again around the outside. Then we'll take this piece here with the hole in the centre and push that through. Then I'll take the backings off the adhesive of those glue tabs and press them down into place onto the reverse side of that piece, or the underside I should say. So I'm just taking the backings off the adhesive of these tabs, and once that's done I'm going to press them against the underside there. Like so, taking care to be as precise as I can. And what you'll find with these little tabs, a couple of them do actually hang over the edge a tiny little bit, but that's no big deal. You can just snip them off with your scissors, as I'm doing here. And that's our finial piece coming along. That's where we're at so far. So I'll just pop that to the side for the time being, and we'll work on the next part. There are 2 of these squares here, and I've gone ahead and put double-sided tape on the glue tabs. There's also these 2 long rectangles that I've accordion folded. The smaller one goes with the small square and the larger one goes with the large square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply glue onto these edges, these sides of this accordion folded piece of card. And what this is creating is a sturdy, strengthening piece, which you'll see as we go along. So you can glue these together any way you like. I just chose to do it like that. Just making sure it's getting a good stick with my burnishing folder. And this is going to get adhered to the underside of that square. So I'm just going to glue that into position. And this is on the underside, as I'm showing. There is double-sided tape on the glue tabs on the other side. We'll need that later. There are also tiny little glue tabs on this piece. You don't need to glue them down, they would be too hard to glue down. But as long as you tuck them in, they're just there like so. So I'm showing there with my fingernail. As long as they're tucked in, it just makes the corners nice and neat. Then I'm going to get my glue again and run it down the inside edge of those glue tabs. There is double-sided tape on the other side, but that's okay. I'm just going to fold that around and adhere it over like so. Making sure I'm tucking those little tiny tabs in. So just folding over those side tabs, tucking that little tiny tab into place. And then I'm going to press that down and burnish it really well to make sure that glue is getting a good stick. Like so. And that's going to attach to the underside of the top finial piece. So I'm going to put glue in the centre, and then I'm going to take the adhesive backings off the double-sided tape there. And attach that top part of the finial to it. Like so. And you can see that the other square we will put together will go underneath it. So it's a 2-layer finial. So that's our top layer done. And it's nice and strong inside. So taking the next big square, this works in the same way. I've accordion folded this long rectangle and I'm going to glue as before. You could do this any way you like, as I said. You could even cut these into individual squares and glue them one on top of the other. It's up to you. But I've just chosen to do it this way. And in the in the die cutting set, you may only have a square, so you would cut it out 6 times and glue it one on top of the other to make that strong piece. And that again gets adhered to the underside edge of that other square. Like so. Again, making sure that when you fold these other side tabs down, that you tuck these little tiny tabs in. Just give it a good burnish. Then I'm going to get my glue and run it along the inside of those glue tabs and fold them over and glue them to what we just glued in. Making sure that the glue gets a good stick as you're going around and tucking in those little tiny tabs. The little tiny tabs make the corners look neat, as long as they're tucked in. Just give it a good burnish, making sure that's sticking really well. You don't want it to come apart. And then I'm going to get this other single square here and attach it to there to cover up those glue tabs and add some more strength. So I've already got the double-sided tape on those glue tabs there, so I'll just take the backings off. And then take the backings off the square I have here. And that's making a nice strong piece. And then the top layer will go on like so, and we'll glue that into position. So I'm going to use a fairly generous amount of glue, making sure it's covering the whole area. and glue it into position. Just eyeballing it, not measuring it or anything like that. And that's our finial piece completed. You could cut these pieces out of designer series paper directly if you'd like, and then you don't have to worry about designer paper layers. There aren't any designer paper layers for the finial, so you could cut that directly from designer series paper if you wanted to. Just making sure that that glue is getting a good hold. So that's our finial. So we'll put that aside for later and we'll move on to the tiers of the serving tray. So we've got our top tier, middle tier and bottom tier. There are quite a lot of pieces for this project, especially for these tiers. So just move those other pieces to the side and we'll talk about where I've put the adhesive on the glue tabs for these bigger pieces. So on each of these tiers there are 6 little triangular tabs and they all need double-sided adhesive on the top side of them, and on the underneath side of the tier you will see that I've put the glue along the top and bottom glue tabs, as I'm indicating there. So the top side of the cardstock is your usual top textured side, and then the underneath side I'm referring to is the smooth side, or the back of the cardstock. So there are also some side pieces that go with these larger pieces, and I'm going to show you those now. And they have a longer side which gets attached, as I'm going to indicate shortly. So on the top side of the cardstock you've got the glue tab on the long side. Make sure I've got them right. And on the short side, the glue is on the underneath side, which is the wrong side of the cardstock. And then there are also these 4 edge pieces that will get attached later on to each tier. So I'll show you again on the middle layer, the 2 side pieces. The long side goes like so, and it has the adhesive on the top side. Then on the underneath side, on the shorter tabs, it has the glue applied to the glue tabs. And then we have our side decorator pieces. So one more time for the bigger piece. Got our side pieces. The long side has the adhesive on the top side, facing up. And on that shorter glue tab on the opposite side has the glue applied to the underneath side, on the glue tab underneath. And here are the 4 edge pieces that'll get attached later on. So to begin with, we're going to put the largest tier together first, and I've got those pieces here ready to go. And the first thing we're going to do is attach the 2 side pieces to the large base piece. So you can see I'm getting my long sides sorted out of how I'm going to do it. And to start with, I actually did this in a most awkward way. I've got it with the wrong side facing up, which is making it difficult for me to line it up. So I've just flipped it over to check that it was lined up properly. And for the second side piece, I actually change so that I'm actually doing it in a more not so awkward way. So here I'm finding it awkward and I can't line it up properly. So I'm going to turn it over and go this way. So this is the way I would recommend you do the side pieces, is work with your cardstock with the right textured side facing up so you can line things up properly. Then give it a good burnish. Now I'm going to flip it over and we're now going to work with the wrong side facing up. So all the sides are going to fold over like so and get attached to the base piece by the glue tab that's just showing there, that's facing up. To give the tray some shape, we're going to join the first triangular tab to the side piece. So it's the very first triangular tab that's down the bottom there, that's neighbouring the side there. The top 2 triangular pieces, just leave those for the time being. So we're just going to join all the sides of the tray together by this triangular piece in each corner. and it's giving our tray a little bit of shape. So just taking the backings off the triangular pieces that are on the bottom and joining them to their neighbour. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just getting this last triangular tab attached to its side piece. Just trying to get the backing off, it's being a bit stubborn. Just join that to the side, and that's our tray starting to take shape. So the other two triangular tabs that are still there in each corner, I'm just going to fold those inwards, like so. And what's going to happen is we're going to fold these corners around, sides around, sorry, to make a mitered corner. And this is where I've decided I'm going to take the backings off the adhesive of all these triangular tabs now. And this is where, if you didn't want to put adhesive on those remaining triangular tabs, then you don't have to if you don't want to. But it does actually assist in the creation of these mitered corners. So these tabs can grab underneath wherever they want whilst we're trying to create this mitered corner. So just getting all those last backings off those triangular tabs. And now I'm going to take the backings off the remaining glue tabs here and have all my adhesive exposed. You can use glue for this if you like, at least to get some wriggle room, but it works just as well with double-sided tape. These long glue tabs will fold around and create the edge sides of the tray. So they will bend around and attach to the bottom part of the tray there, as I'm showing here. So I'm taking care here to make the corner, the mitered corner, so that lines up there at the top, and also the glue tabs on the bottom that we're pressing against the bottom, they line up nicely too in a nice mitre. So if they're lined up and the mitre at the top is lined up, they're in the perfect position. And I'm only pressing down in the corner like that. I'm not pressing along the whole glue tab just yet, because I'm wanting to make sure these mitered corners and these mitered glue tabs on the base of it there are matched in nicely and nicely lined up. Then I'll press in the corners, and then I'll press along all the glue tabs, the long glue tabs, as I'm showing here now, making sure that everything is nice and straight and lined up and getting a good stick. And if you haven't done a neat job on the mitered corners, don't worry. As you can see, the decorator layers will cover it. But if you get to this stage here, then that's fine, and it's looking good. That's good enough. So we've got these edge pieces here. They get attached to the sides of each tier. Gives the tier a bit more strength and also adds a decorative edge to it. And that gets attached to the side edge, the outside edge. So just take your time to line that up and make sure it's on there nicely. And attach the other three in the same way. So it's having trouble there lining that up. It is worth your while taking the time to make sure things are lined up properly. You can see this one's obviously giving me a hard time. You can see things don't always go perfectly for me either. I was starting to fuss with that corner, and then I realised it won't matter because the decorator layer will cover that. So you can see I'm lining it up in the bottom corner and making sure it's lining up against the edge. And when I'm not filming, these things do go together better, but because I'm trying to angle it in a way that you can see it without my big head getting in the camera, sometimes it's a struggle. And I'll just stick the last one on. And the last one goes into place nicely. Just pressing it down from the back, making sure everything's got a good hold. And so that's our largest tier. And you'll see that the decorator panel goes over like so and covers up all those joins and things. And that's the other decorator panel that goes inside. The paper I'm using is just some floral paper from Kaisercraft that I had in my stash. So we'll move on now to the middle tier. And this is going to go together in exactly the same way. So I'm just getting my side pieces there and joining the longest side to the side of the base piece. Making sure I've got it in the right orientation. So I've got the right side of the cardstock facing up. Taking care to make sure it's lined up properly. The short side will not fit on there, so you won't even think to put it there. It only goes in one spot. Long side joins onto the base piece. And then I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to find that bottom corner triangular tab and join it, all those corner pieces together, leaving the top two triangular tabs alone. And creating our tray shape. So that's what that looks like. Now I'm going to take the backings off all of the triangular tabs and also the longer tabs. Expose all the adhesive. The same as before. You can fast forward this if you like, but I like to leave it in case somebody needs it. So next I'm going to tuck those corner tabs in. And I'm going to fold these side pieces around to make the mitered corner, making sure that it lines up with the bottom glue tab corners as well, and press the corner into place. So I'm tucking the little corner tabs in, the triangular tabs in. They'll grab wherever they want inside, making sure that the top corner piece lines up as well as the glue tabs down the bottom, those corners in there, like that. Tuck the triangular tabs in. Bend it around, get your mitered shape for the top of the tier and then for the bottom glue tabs in the corner, and press it down in the corner. Once you do it once, it will fall into place nicely for you. Then I'm going to press down on the remaining glue tabs. And now it's time to stick these decorative edges on. That second tier went quicker than the first tier, although this is the second serving tray I've made. The first one's always a practice. So just taking my time, lining it up, making sure it's nice and straight. And sticking it into place on the outside edge of the tier. So we've just got to get that last edge attached. That should go on there nice and neatly. Making sure it's all stuck well. And that's our middle tier done. So the last one to do is our top tier. It's the smallest tier. So same as before, we're going to put our side pieces on, gluing the long sides to the base piece. And I'm working with the right side of the cardstock facing up. Give it a good burnish. Then turn it over and start assembling our tray. So again, the bottom corner glue tab, I'm going to take the backings off all 4 of them and join the corners together. Exactly the same as before. The first one I did put together with glue, and it did become a messy experience. It's another reason why I do like using the double-sided tape. So there we go, that's our tray taking shape, and we've just got to get our edges sorted. So I'm going to take the backings off the triangular tabs that are remaining on all of the sides, and also take the backings off the longer glue tabs. Expose all the adhesive. So I'm just folding them outwards just so that I've got better access, and it also assists with folding around to make the mitered corners. So again, as before, we're going to tuck the little triangular tabs in. They'll grab where they want once we start making the mitered corner. Fold that around. Get the mitered corner happening with your 2 pointer fingers, and then the 2 corners of the glue tabs will line up nicely too in a miter as well. Just pressing down in the corners, not anywhere else. So just getting that mitered corner sorted. Make sure the glue tab miter lines up as well. Press it into place, and then go to the next corner. Tuck the glue tabs in, the little corner triangular tabs. Fold that around to create your mitered corner. Press it down once those 2 glue tabs line up nicely too, and then get our last corner done. Just need a little bit of help there with my pokey tool. And then I'll press along the long glue tabs to make sure everything's glued into place and stuck down well. That's what that looks like. You can see it's angled up. That's what the mitered corners, what we're achieving with those mitered corners. So now it's time to glue the edge pieces on. Same as before. They glue to the outside edge. And we'll go around and we'll stick all of those edge pieces on. And the tiers are probably the hardest part of this whole tutorial. Once we get through this, we're nearly done. Just making sure it's getting a good hold from the other side. And sticking that last one into place. Pressing it all around, make sure it's all getting a good stick. And that's our smallest tier done. So I've got our 3 tiers here, and they'll obviously go from biggest to smallest, like so. But they need the support towers to go in between, so we'll get on to making those now. So you can see with these pieces there are 2 sets, and one set is smaller than the other set, and the smaller set also comes with octagons, 2 for each size shape. So we'll put the smaller set with the octagon shapes to the side, and we'll work on the largest set of shapes. In the cut file it's very clear. I'm not quite sure how they'll look in the die set. So you can see I've gone ahead and put double-sided tape on the large glue tab on the end, and on the other side I've put it on the teeth pieces. So we'll put these together first. These are the outer edge of the support towers. The glue tabs get bent back like so on both ends. Then we'll move to the middle-sized one, take the backings off, join the shape together, and bend the glue tabs back on both ends like so. And the smaller one, we'll join that shape up. It wants to be painful. And fold the glue tabs out like so on both ends. Now we're going to attach these outer parts of the support towers to the trays. We'll start with the smallest tray first, and this is where you'll see why there's a hole in this particular shape. It's to assist with putting this support tower in the center. So looking through the hole of the top there, I can see how to center this piece up. Then I'll take the backings off the glue tabs and put it into place. So I'm just looking through the top down to that hole and centering it up as best I can. And then once I'm happy with the positioning, I'll push down the glue tabs. You can see I'll put through the hole there. I've got it as central as I can. And I'm going to do the same with the middle tier. Take the backings off all these little tabs. And using that hole as a guide and looking through the top of the tower we just made and centering it up as best I can. So I'm happy with it, I'll press it into place. Like so. Put that one aside and do the largest one. Exactly the same way. Take the backings off. Using the hole as a guide and looking through the top of that support piece and getting it as central as I can. And for this bigger one, I did have to put my whole head over the top, so I had to cut that bit out. I'm happy with how that's looking. That's as central as I can get it. And I'll put that aside. Now it's time to work on this smaller set of that same shape as before, but it also has the octagons with it. And you can see where I have gone ahead and put the double-sided adhesive on the glue tabs. You can see the octagons there. I'm putting them with each side. And we're going to put these shapes together. So they go together similarly to the other shape, except the glue tabs go a different way because we're going to close the ends up with the octagons. And what we're making here are support pieces that'll go inside what we've already attached to the tiers to make it a little bit stronger. So I'm just taking the glue backings off the adhesive and I'm going to attach one of the octagons to one end. And close it up. And for the assembly of these particular pieces, if they're not 100% perfect, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to see it anyway. They are purely a support piece inside the columns on the tiers. So you could cut them from scrap cardstock if you wanted to. I'll speed up the footage now for the rest of the assembly of these because they're not that terribly difficult to put together. And I'll get to the part where they're all assembled. You can skip ahead to that part if you like, but I'll leave it in case somebody wants it. So just zooming through there, attaching the ends to the cylinder we've just made. Closing up the ends and moving on to the last one. And there we have our 3 closed up cylinder shapes, or octagon shapes I should say, and they go inside their corresponding one, and it just fits inside nicely on all of the towers there. Now we'll fold these glue tabs over and press them against the top that we just put in. These are a little bit smaller and they do sit a little bit lower. So what you can do, and what I did show here, is you can push from that hole underneath to push it up a little bit so that the glue tabs have got a firmer, straighter edge to adhere to. I don't show it on this one, but I do on the next one. And then your designer paper layer, or decorator layer, goes inside like so. So I actually glue that in now. Making sure the orientation's right, and then press it into place. And then I'll stick the other decorator panel in place as well. Taking care to line it up nicely so there's a nice even gap all the way around. Then I'll move on to the next one and do the same thing. This one I actually do use my bone folder to push that center column up a little bit so that the glue tabs have something straight and flat to adhere to, as I'm showing here. Then I'll glue those decorator panels in place. Just making sure I've got the paper lined up properly. That's something else you also have to consider when you're using your decorator panels to decorate the 3-tier serving tray. You need to be mindful of the paper, and if it's got a pattern, how it's going to look once you've cut the decorator layers, and that you position it correctly in place onto the serving tray. That way your pattern matches up nicely. It was just something that I thought that I should be mindful of, and I'm glad that I did. So just getting this last decorator panel glued up for the middle tier and putting it into place. Taking care to make sure it's nice and even. That's a bit off, I think, so I'll just peel it up a little bit and then stick it back down. So that's our middle tier done, and I'll move now on to the final bottom tier. I've already gone ahead and put one of the decorator panels in place. Now I'm just getting these glue tabs stuck to that middle center column. That is loose inside that inner column, so I'm just pushing it up a little bit from that hole in the bottom so that the glue tabs have something to adhere to. And then I'm going to put some glue on this decorator panel, the last piece, and glue that into place. Taking care to line it up nice and straight, and so that your pattern lines up as well. And our 3-tier serving tray is nearly finished. There's also these little decorator pieces here, and they go just around the base, so that covers up any gaps or anything in between the decorator panel and the centre columns. So I'm just gluing those into place on all 3 tiers. It's a nice finishing touch. Now all that's left to do with these 3 tiers is to glue them all together, one on top of the other. So here I've gone back here and I'm just pushing that centre column on the first one up a little bit. So they'll stack one on top of each other like so. And then the finial will go on top. So we'll get started and get this all glued together. So starting with the bottom tier, just using a generous amount of glue. And what I did here was I just stood up from my workstation and I bent down and just by eye lined it up. And also coming in from over the top and lining it up as well as best I can, making sure it's as straight as I can get it. Just do the best you can. And by using glue here, you've got that wriggle room to realign if you need to. I'm going to do the top tier now, exactly the same way. Just positioning it as best you can, as central as you can get it. So it's a bit off there, so I straightened it up. Just having a look from the top down, making sure I'm happy with it. I'm just checking out all the layers, making sure I'm happy with them. Needs a little bit more adjustment. And then I can glue the finial on top. Again, just taking my time to line it up as centrally and as best I can. And once the finial's in place, we can then see that our 3-tier serving tray has come together nicely and is looking good so far. So I went ahead off camera and decorated mine completely, and you can see I've tamed it up with a nice brown ribbon with some brown tones. It sort of has a sepia look to it, this one, and I'm very happy with how my 3-tier serving tray turned out. So that's my tutorial finished for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching and that you feel inspired to make one of these 3-tier serving trays. They would make a great idea for a Mother's Day gift with some chocolates or something like that on it. Don't forget to check the description box down below for the links that I've previously mentioned, and if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would really love that too. Thanks very much for watching today. Have a great day, and until next time, it's bye for now.